here with the vision team. Versus our first Sunday, we will be reviewing the past. The purpose of our campaign is recommitting to God's call. This time I'll give thanks to God for His guidance with our committee. Our committee categories are faithful attendance, evangelism, revitalizing children and youth ministries, faithful giving, and going forward. This week we got a letter from our chairperson, Kathy Edson, and I'm going to read it. Dear friends, I am writing to you today because I have been asked to chair the Crossroads Recalculating Pond Committee. Weddell Pond Church stands today at a crossroads. Our mission has always been to be a nurturing family that shares the joy, love, and ministry of Jesus Christ with everyone. Now we must decide how to carry out this mission. The next 4 Sundays, we will spend our time during worship exploring where Pond has been today, where we are now, and where we want to go in the future. Please join us and help decide how to fulfill our mission. You'll be asked to fill out a card on the 4th Sunday. You want to be prayerfully consider your responses. On February 10th, we will have a special celebration that you will return the card during worship. Afterwards, we are invited to join the Pond Special Fellowship Dinners. Please join us and invite people to Pond that you haven't seen lately. This will be our chance to recommit to God and His work at Pond. May God be with us in Pond during this journey. God bless all. Signed, Kathy Edson and Mr. Marsh. Very good. This is out of our the short version of the history. I opted not to do the long version because we might be here at extreme time too. This is out of the church director of the website. Weddell Pond Church is the oldest church in Madison County in its original site, on its website. The Pond Church began as early as 1790 in a log church that was a meeting house and community center for the first settlement in Milford, also the first community seat. Much of the history of what took place at Pond is lost, as historical records burned while stored in the house of a church member. 2 brothers, Joseph R. Pond and Griffin Pond, were strong leaders in the church. J.R. dying early in life, contributed to the change in nature from White Oak Church to White Oak Pond Church. The Pond Church, an independent Baptist church, became a part of Tage Creek Baptist Association in 1802. The French Tipton letters revealed that the first woman to talk for women in Kentucky, and perhaps America, on the subject of temperance was Nancy Irvin at the White Oak Pond Church in Richmond, Kentucky in 1827. This was the site of the first county temperance society. In an attempt to further Christian unity, the congregation became a part of the Christian church movement in 1830 after Alexander Campbell and Raccoon John Smith preached at the protracted meetings. This Reformation movement later became known as the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. J.R. Pond's nephew led forces against the violence and prejudice shown by the Ku Klux Klan following the Civil War. The Walk Church Cemetery contains the grave of Willis, pastor of the church who took a Union soldier into his home and nursed him back to health during the Battle of Richmond, even though Willis was pursued by Confederate sympathies and the South won that battle. The grave reads, "Here lies a good Samaritan who took a stranger in." After the Civil War of 1869, the log church was taken down and a present brick structure erected using any of the old or the hand-hewed white oak timbers of that church. And I believe the cost of that was $2,530 at that time. In 1980, a new education wing was added with kitchen, half gym, fellowship hall, and restrooms. 2002, the new bakery addition was built with new Sunday school rooms, restrooms, storage rooms, gathering rooms. But Pond Church is not its building. It is the people who love the Lord Jesus Christ. It is you and I together as a temple of the Lord and the body of Christ. I'd like to take a few minutes with some of the people, the members, to share with you when you first came to White Oak Pond, kind of what's going on at that time, what takes place since that time. Catherine Bagley, would you want to come up here?
Okay. I thought it was kind of an honor to be asked to come and talk about the past of White Oak Pond. And then I got to thinking, oh, they're telling me I'm getting old. We're no longer the town of Milford, but we became the city of Richmond. We were no longer the state of Virginia, but became the state of Kentucky. We were no longer a log cabin, as you heard, but a brick church. And believe it or not, I came after the potbelly stove was removed. I came because someone asked me to come and help them teach. And at that time, Nancy Long was a member of the church. And she said, I need help teaching. Would you be so happy to come? Well, at that time, I was not attending any church. So I would come every Sunday, go down to the basement, we would teach. And then after a few weeks, she said, why don't you come up and listen to Jim Blair, our minister, during worship? And I did. And it was quite interesting. He was so interesting. In fact, he didn't want to leave the room for fear you'd miss something. So I joined the church. But our Sunday school classes were not like other Sunday school classes. When we started on something, they went on for weeks. You would have a lesson, maybe the first Sunday a story, the next Sunday you might have a play, the next Sunday an art craft. And I remember one Sunday in particular, we were doing the loaves and the fishes. And Nancy decided it would be nice if all the children went home with a t-shirt with a fish painted on it. And my idea was that the kids would take a paintbrush and paint a picture of fish, but that wasn't Nancy's idea. She said we should take a fish, we should put paint on it, and then when you turn it over and press it down, you would have a nice imprint of a fish. Well, the problem was we had to find the fish with a head on it. So we called different and checked with different fish markets. Couldn't find it. We thought at first we may have to find a fishing pole and go fish. Then she remembered Walmart. So we called Walmart, and the conversation went something like this. Hello? Would you have any fish with the heads on it? Oh, just a moment, I'll go look. oh, yes, we have a few, but I don't think you'd want them. They're pretty old, but we'll have fresh ones next week. Oh, that's all right. We just want to paint with them. Can't you imagine what she thought? The basement was much like it is today. It was one large room with no walls. And sometimes when we had an election, a national election, people would come here. It was a polling place. And they would come down the upstairs and in to vote and leave. So it was not handicap accessible by any means. We celebrated our bicentennial in 1990. Rusty had replaced Jim by that time. We began the year with the dinner theater, our first theater performance here. We had something special every month. We had an old-fashioned church service where everyone dressed in period costume, and the men sat on one side, the women on another. We had teas and invited people from the church that had come here when they were children. We had a Reverend Arvin, who had been a traveling minister and preached here one time. And I went to the houses and took videotapes of all of these teas, and they're in our library. We did something called Return to Bethlehem, where we transformed the whole fellowship hall into the streets of Bethlehem. We had live goats, we had a live donkey for Mary and Joseph, we all had marketplaces where we sold things. I think the Lackey family sold fish. Yeah. Dead fish. Dead fish. We sold bread, all those kinds of things. There were sleepovers for the youth groups. There were camping trips. We all got petitions for a recycling program at one time, went down and sat in the mall and got people to sign petitions, and we were the ones who got the recycling program started, which Madison County uses today. I remember one time, I'll shorten this soon. I remember one time when Jim Blair said, I wish somebody would put a flower, just anything, a weed, a live something on the altar. So I came in one Sunday, not letting anyone know, and put some flowers on the altar. So I did that every Sunday for years until finally I said, I'm not going to be around here forever. I think we need a group that would do that. So we got a group together. They each did it one Sunday, and poor Betty's been doing it ever since. Then there was the time at Easter when Rusty decided he would do the baptism on Easter Sunday. So they said, well, what are we going to do about the flowers? And I said, oh, that's no problem. We'll just put a little board up behind. And, it'll be a nice backdrop. Well, the first child got down in the water and everything went fine. She was baptized. The second child was welcomed into the water, and someone bumped the board, and all the lilies fell in. I think I probably could go on for a long time, but I'll give someone else a chance.
Thank you. Bill McKinney, would you like to say a few words?
Well,
You do it.
I'll be a representation of people. No, I think I'll be better off down here. I came here in 1969. I came to Richmond in 1969, and I must confess I went to First Christian Church from then until 1979 or 1989, I think it was. And I came out here and I immediately, I had retired from Eastern, and I immediately became the choir director in about 2 weeks. Now, I don't really want to blow my own horn, but I had majored in music in college and had sung in church choirs all my life, and I had played the instruments, every one I could get my hands on, but I had not directed a choir for many years. And I must tell you that we almost didn't have a choir. We had about 4 people. And fortunately, most of them sang pretty well. Unfortunately, 2 of them have since passed away. But we sat in the balcony up there, and we had a great big organ console up there, and we had the grand piano. And we finally got to have 12 or 14 people. Now, if you can imagine how we got all that up there, that's sort of the situation we're in. When we warmed up, the first time we went down to the fellowship hall and warmed up in a cupboard down there. And it was interesting to get us all crowded in there. We were pretty good friends at that point. My first memory of doing anything very much was, Catherine's already alluded to it, the Bethlehem Revisited. I always enjoyed those old bathrobe celebrations that we put on in the church, trying to look like people dressed in the first century or so. But we get a towel around our head and an old bathrobe on, and we feel like we're back in ancient times. And we had the choir singing, and I played a recorder. You know what a recorder is? One of those things sounds like a whistle. And Catherine's already mentioned the animal. The donkey stayed in here. The weather turned cold, and we had the donkey in the fellowship hall for about 2-3 weeks, as I remember. And every time I'd come out here, the donkey was a pet. He would come up and make fellowship with us. And we finally got rid of the menagerie and went back to normal. The other thing I thought I might mention was Pioneer Christmas. I guess most of you remember that. That was a great part of my life. Rusty was a very talented fellow, and he made up all of the tunes in Pioneer Christmas. But Rusty didn't have any musical education, and so he would sing the tune on a tape and bring it to me, and I'd put it on a tape recorder. In fact, I wore one out, transcribing his tunes and putting them on paper. And I had to write harmonization for these things and direct the choir. And we put on this play down at Boonesboro in one of the blockhouses down there. And it was cold those winters, and we'd get cold feet and bad colds, and there was a lot of mold in those old buildings, and we would get all full of sinus trouble and everything. But we did so well that people would come back year after year, and they would tell us when they left after the performance, this makes our Christmas. We're going to come back next year. And some of them got to know us so well, they sang along on the songs with us. Now, you can't beat that in show business. If your song goes over well enough that everybody sing along with you, you're a success. That's all there is to it. The only other thing that comes to mind is home visits we had with families that had a membership here or some fellowship here. And we had a family named DeJarnett in our home. And Mabel also helped make that quilt that had all the, you've probably seen it around here somewhere. Unless somebody asks me a question, I've got to run out of something. But that was how many years ago was that? 1990?
I was in Trinity in 1990.
Yeah. And over the years we had, my main relationship was with the choir. Mabel and I did teach Sunday school. We taught down there in the basement long enough that I got an allergy to mold, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. And in fact, I used to go down there and scrub it off the walls and take Clorox water and scrub the mold off the wall. We also, Mabel and I did the Wednesday night supper for about a year and a half. It almost put us in the hospital because we were getting to fairly advanced age by then. And I'll have to tell you this on me. We had a fellow named Joe something that was, had run some Italian restaurants here in town. You remember Joe? And he taught us how to cook. Now, he was a professional. He wouldn't do it for us. He taught us how. And we had an awful lot of spaghetti for Wednesday night suppers because that was the thing that Joe was really proficient at. And I can do pretty well at that too. But he got some mix of some kind to make salad dressing. And so he was dictating to me. I was writing on the label to put it on a jar or something he made from scratch. And he said blue cheese. So I wrote B-L-U-E. Well, you know, blue is a French word, and they spell B-L-E-U. And Joe was, here my college professor, a doctor and all that, and I don't know how to spell blue for blue cheese. And he'd like to know that and forget that. But we had a lot of exciting things going on here. And it was, the thought struck me where I've been here for 23 years, and so all of you that were here when I came are 23 years older than you were when I first met you. And time has a way of creeping up on us, and we do eventually get old if we last long enough. But you have a question, I'm done.
You kind of remind me of a story or a book that I read by Dr. Price. It's called Reconnection, and halfway through the book it talks about a gentleman called Enoch. And for some reason I was infatuated by that. And I had a preacher in my practice. I asked, well, who is Enoch? And he went out and got the Bible in the waiting room and came back in the Old Testament about Enoch was so-so, we got so-so, and their son. Anyway, Enoch was taken instead of died and left. So I'm like, whoa, what's this? So one time we had our church vigil for the prayer vigil, and I forgot to sign up, so I got stuck at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's when we had to do different things with the nail or the rocks and whatnot, and you would sit and pray or read some literature on the book on the table. I picked the first one up to read it. Something told me to pick the one on the bottom left. Well, it was a short excerpt of the book of Enoch. I'm like, okay, so I read a few of that, and it's kind of written like the Bible. And then about 10 years ago, we had a Vacation Bible School, and I was asked to play the shopkeeper in the gym over here, and I was giving out carrots and grapes. And I believe someone in the back there was stuffing grapes in their pockets so they could take them home or something. Anyway, we were supposed to come up with a name and have it on our. My hair was down to here, and I was dressed in the robe or whatever, and my name was Enough.
Enough.
All right, that's enough for me for the Gene Smith. Would you like to move? Enoch is still knocking too, I think.
I first moved to Richmond again. I'm native Madison County. I moved back to Richmond in 1974 with 2 teenagers, moved into the apartment above my parents' house because Mother and Daddy Daddy occasionally, but because Mother came here, and I was able to come with her and start my life here at Pond. The first thing that I remember about was the friendliness, openness, kindness, doing for others, caring for others. It's unbelievable, as it is today. At that time, there was no Sunday school for children. And I ended up teaching K through 12. Now, can you imagine this span here? Some of the children did not have any knowledge whatsoever of the Bible. So, and I had no guide to go on. So we told stories, we learned Bible, the books, etc. But finally, with family problems, I had to quit doing that. But it was in the preacher's office. There's still several celebrations that have not been mentioned. Now, some of these have already been mentioned, but one of them is the Evening in Bethlehem. Was the first play we did, and as many of you know, I love the theater, and that was the first time that I had ever been anything. Rusty asked me, "Jean, would you be in our Christmas play?" I had to leave. The first time I'd ever done that. And then we had the Victorian services that had been mentioned earlier, and the picnic that was outstanding in that same year. The autumn harvest has not been mentioned, and that's when we first got Margie into the business, because she came with her wares, and we just had a wonderful time through the Harvest Festival. Dante's began during that period. And there was a very active children's group, as Catherine mentioned. The home meals, we started doing home meals at that time. Pine of Christmas was started at that time. The prayer vigil was started when I first came. And many, many more things. We were very active, very compassionate to each other. And again, I'm going to repeat. The friendship, the kindness, and the goodness between the people is not anywhere else.
Thank you for sharing all of those. Would Mr. Marsh please come forward? Have a compass to help guide our group and our congregation to the future. I would like to pass this to Jeff, as he is our next speaker for next week, or interviewer, or member. Guide on, lead on. Here you go.
Yeah, we kind of have the same format next week. I didn't know that I was going to be speaking today. I was kind of trying to sit in the heathen section with the rest of the city folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, Dean Smith brought me bulletin from 1975, which is the year that I was born. Interesting enough, on that Sunday, Gene Smith was a preacher. And I didn't know that Gene can preach, so we'll hear from the Gene more. But interesting enough, that we have almost the same order of worship service. So I thought, wow, we have been changing a lot of the elements of the worship service, but. As a matter of fact, no, we haven't changed a lot of the order of worship service. How about God? Has God changed? We worship God, the same God who led the ancient Israelites from the Egypt to the Canaan. We worship God who led this white pond from the beginning to today. And God never changed through the generations. Amen? Amen. So, I think it is proper that we give thanks to God as we start this month of commitment. And God will lead us as God has done for us. And then as a community, I like to give thanks to God in a way that the King David did. So I like to ask you to open the Bible, Psalm 23. Everyone just open the Bible and then find the Psalm 23. Probably among you, there are some people who can memorize the whole entire Psalm 3, but what I like to do actually is, we like to read a psalm together, but I like to replace the word me to us, and then myself to ourselves, and then I to we. So we read the psalm together, and where's my Bible? So, okay. Let's read together. The Lord is our shepherd. We shall not want. He makes us lie down in green pastures. He leads us beside still waters. He restores our soul. He leads us in right paths for His name's sake. Even though we walk through the darkest valley, we fear no evil, for you are with us. Your rod and your staff, they comfort us. You prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies. You anoint our heads with oil. Our cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord our whole life long. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I'd like to now invite you to join me the litany for our new journey, and you read the bold print in your bulletin. It's good where we've been. For God has led us with love and mercy. Good where we are going to. For we believe God will lead us in hope for tomorrow. And if you'd like to find a new church home, you know what kind of community who we are now, because you hear from our own people. So if you're looking for a church home, as we sing together, please come forward. Or if you like to renew your faith in God, you can also come forward too. Let's sing together. The hymn number is 543, Blessed Assurance. And I invite you to stand.
Jesus is mine.
you.